Start. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra. Hold on. Bhakta-vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prashacha Deshaharane. Adi Lila Chapter 5, The Glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram. Text 36. Okay. Yad arinam priyanam cha prapyam ekam ivoditam tad brahma krishna yor aikyat hiranarko pamajusho, where it has been stated that the Lord's enemies and devotees attain the same destination. This refers to the ultimate oneness of Brahman and Lord Krishna. This may be understood by the analogy of the sun and the sunshine, in which Brahman is like the sunshine and Krishna himself is like the sun. Yeah, we were talking about the yesterday, right? How the demons go to Brahman. So there's one verse where it says that the demons that are killed by Krishna go to the same destination as the devotees. So it's like the same and not the same. They go to Brahman, the Brahma Jyoti, which is Krishna, but not Krishna, because it's the effulgence of Krishna, just like the rays of the sun are the sun, but not the sun. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 12278 of Srila Rupa Goswami, who further discusses this same topic in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Purva 5.41. There he refers to the Vishnu Purana 4.15.1, where Maitreya Muni asked Parashara in regard to Jai and Vijay how it was that Hiranyakashipu next became Ravana and enjoyed more material happiness than the demigods, but did not attain salvation. Although when he became Shishupal, quarreled with Krishna and was killed, he attained salvation and merged into the body of Lord Krishna. Parashara replied that Hiranyakashipu failed to recognize Lord Nrsingadev as Lord Vishnu. He thought that Nrsingadev was some living entity who had acquired such opulence by various pious activities. Being overcome by the mode of passion, he considered Lord Nrsingadev an ordinary living entity, not understanding his form. Nevertheless, because Hiranyakashipu was killed by the hands of Lord Nrsingadev, in his next life he became Ravana and had proprietorship of unlimited opulence. As Ravana, with unlimited material enjoyment, he could not accept Lord Ram as the personality of Godhead. Therefore, even though he was killed by Ram, he did not attain Sayujya, or oneness with the body of the Lord. In his Ravana body, he was too much attached to Ram's wife, Janaki, and because of that attraction, he was able to see Lord Ram. But instead of accepting Lord Ram as an incarnation of Vishnu, Ravana thought him an ordinary living being. When killed by the hands of Ram, therefore, he got the privilege of taking birth as Shishupal, who had such immense opulence that he could think himself a competitor to Krishna. Although Shishupal was always envious of Krishna, he frequently uttered the name of Krishna and always thought of the beautiful features of Krishna. Thus, by constantly thinking and chanting of Krishna, even unfavorably, he was cleansed of the contamination of his sinful activities. When Shishupal was killed by the Sudarshana chakra of Krishna as an enemy, his constant remembrance of Krishna dissolved the reactions of his vices, and he attained salvation by becoming one with the body of the Lord. From this incident, one can understand that even a person who thinks of Krishna as an enemy and is killed by him may be liberated by becoming one with the body of Krishna. What then must be the destination of devotees who always think favorably of Krishna as their master or friend? These devotees must attain a situation better than Brahmaloka, the impersonal bodily effulgence of Krishna. Devotees cannot be situated in the impersonal Brahman effulgence into which impersonalists desire to merge. The devotees are placed in Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka. This discussion between Maitreya Muni and Parashara Muni centered on whether devotees come down into the material world in every millennium like Jai and Vijay, who were cursed by the Kumaras to that effect. In the course of these instructions to Maitreya about Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and Shishupal, Parashara did not say that these demons were formerly Jai and Vijay. He simply described the transmigration through 3 lives. It is not necessary for the Vaikuntha associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come to take the roles of his enemies in all the millenniums in which he appears. The so-called fall down of Jai and Vijay occurred in a particular millennium. Jai and Vijay do not come down in every millennium to act as demons. To think that some associates of the Lord fall down from Vaikuntha in every millennium to become demons is totally incorrect. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has all the tendencies that may be found in the living entity, for he is the chief living entity. Therefore, it is natural that sometimes Lord Vishnu wants to fight. Just as he has the tendencies to create, to enjoy, to be a friend, to accept a mother and father, and so on. He also has the tendency to fight. Sometimes important landlords and kings keep wrestlers with whom they practice mock fighting. And Vishnu makes similar arrangements. The demons who fight with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the material world are sometimes his associates. When there's a scarcity of demons and the Lord wants to fight, he instigates some of his associates of Vaikuntha to come and play as demons. When it is said that Shishupal merged into the body of Krishna, it should be noted that in this case, he was not Jai or Vijay. He was actually a demon. In his Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained that the attainment of salvation by merging into the Brahman effulgence of the Lord cannot be accepted as the highest success in life, because demons like Kamsa, who are famous for killing brahmanas and cows, attain that salvation. For devotees, such salvation is abominable. Devotees are actually in a transcendental position, whereas non-devotees are candidates for hellish conditions of life. There is always a difference between the life of a devotee and the life of a demon, and their realizations are as different as heaven and hell. Demons are always accustomed to being malicious towards devotees and to killing Brahmins and cows. For demons, merging into the Brahman effulgence may be very glorious, but for devotees it is hellish. A devotee's aim in life is to attain perfection in loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who aspire to merge into the Brahman effulgence are as abominable as demons. Devotees who aspire to associate with the Supreme Lord to render him transcendental loving service are far superior. So, yeah, he's saying that these impersonalists who want to merge into Brahman, they're just as bad as the demons and they all go to the same destination. That's pretty heavy. But this is interesting how he just says that the Shishupal who merged into the body of Krishna was not Jai or Vijay.
Yeah.
So the thing is that Krishna's pastimes are happening again and again and again and again. And the different personalities who play roles in his pastimes are not always the same. So just like, yeah, we're talking about how in Kali Yuga, there's a Yuga avatar who comes and teaches everyone to chant the holy name. So that Yuga avatar is a different person. And sometimes Lord Chaitanya, once in a day of Brahma, it will be the Lord Krishna himself in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Other times it will be another avatar who comes down to do that job. Just like the Manus, right? They're always changing. There's different Manus. And just like Brahma, there's like one person, it's a position. It's like a post. It's kind of like there's a script, right? For Krishna's pastimes in the material world. And sometimes, of course, the main players, it's not like someone is going to double as Mother Yashoda. Like Mother Yashoda is Mother Yashoda. She can't be replaced by anyone else. But some of these other like minor parts, like Shishupal or something, they can be sometimes Jai Vijay and sometimes another like actual demon. So Jai and Vijay, they didn't, when they were killed by Krishna, they went back to their positions as, I mean, Shishupal and Dantavakra, when they were killed by Krishna, they went back to their positions as Jai and Vijay in Vaikuntha because they weren't actually demons. They were just, right, it says the so-called fall down. Just because Krishna wanted to fight and there was no one to fight with, so he said, hey, let's go fight. Yeah, it was more of a play than a fight. Although they fought pretty seriously, right? So, yeah, very interesting.
Is it like when Krishna and Krishna performs the same Leela every day?
Yeah, because he appears in different universes. And remember, we're hearing about there's so many universes. It's like mustard seeds in a big, huge sack. So he's just going from one universe to, it's like a traveling road show, Krishna's pastimes. It's like, you know, when a band is on tour, so they'll do a show and it's the same songs like that. For that show, they'll do the same exact songs, same everything. same performance, and they'll do it in one city, and then they'll go to another city, do the same thing, another city, same thing, another, and that way they'll travel all across Europe or all across North America or something
Okay, so
on tour.
Krishna comes one day of Brahma and then go to next universe.
Yeah,
So it's Brahma's life one day.
in each universe, something like that. Or yeah, I'm not sure if there are as the same number of universes as there are in like the day of Brahma, or how that works, but
It says again, so much Brahma.
yeah, there's so many universes, so many Brahmas, and they live different lifetimes. So it's a little complicated. It's inconceivable, like the time scale. But the Shastras agree that Krishna's pastimes are going on continuously. Like as soon as, so like, for example, he's a baby performing Damodar Lila. As soon as he finishes Damodar Lila and goes to the next pastime, immediately he's performing Damodar Lila in another universe.
Like theory of multiverse, like nowadays people will talk about like
Multiverse.
this thing.
Well, I don't know about us, but I mean, there are multiple universes, but
But devotees, they can.
we are pretty much, I think we can safely assume that we just have one, we are one soul in one body right now in this universe, and we're not simultaneously existing in another universe.
Yeah, we are not.
But Krishna can do that, but we can't do
Yeah.
that. I
And
mean,
the devotees, after leaving this body, they can go to other universes.
Yeah.
Krishna is playing.
yeah,
Hero.
afterwards. But that thing that we have like multiple identities in multiple universes simultaneously, that's bogus.
People are confused maybe.
Very confused. I mean, it's an interesting thought.
The whole life, 100 years, it's a half a second in Krishna's time cycle.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Krishna's time cycle is eternity. So like anything is just
Brahma,
a lightning flash.
100 years, it equal to half second in Krishna's time.
Okay, so let's go on. Text 37. Taiche Padavyome Nana Chichakti Vilasa Nirvishesha Jyotirbimba Bahire Prakasha.
Thus, in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of pastimes within the spiritual energy. Outside the Vaikuntha planets appears the impersonal reflection of light.
Yeah, so we're continuing to hear about the spiritual world, so the spiritual sky, and all the planets are there. Nirvishesha Brahma se Kevala Jyotirmaya Sayujera Adhikari Tanha Payalaya.
The impersonal Brahman effulgence consist only of the effulgent rays of the Lord. Those feet for Sayudhya liberation merge into that effulgence.
Yeah, so this is the liberation that the impersonalists aspire for. That is like hell for the devotees, because you just merge into an effulgence and you have, it's like Prabhupada's spiritual suicide. You lose your personality, you can't have any interactions, you really can't do anything. It's like not where you want to be. Siddha lokastu tamasa pare yatra vasantihi siddha brahma sukhe magna daityascha harina hataha.
Beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic manifestation lies the realm of Siddhaloka. The Siddhas reside there, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. Demons killed by the Lord also attain that realm. Tamas means darkness. The material world is dark, and beyond the material world is light. In other words, after passing through the entire material atmosphere, one can come to the luminous spiritual sky, whose impersonal effulgence is known as Siddhaloka. Mayavadi philosophers who aspire to merge with the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as demonic persons who are killed by Krishna, such as Kamsa and Shishupal, enter that Brahman effulgence. Yogis who attain oneness through meditation, according to the Patanjali yoga system, also reach Siddhaloka. This is a verse from the Brahman Puran.
Yeah, so impersonalists Patanjali yogis and demons killed by Krishna, they all attain the same destination, which is this Sayujya Mukti, which, yeah, the acharyas are like, if the demons get that, then it can't be very great. You know, like, why would you aspire for a destination which the demons get? Right? The demons are gonna get like the lowest destination. So what a devotee should be aspiring for something higher. Okay. Se paravyome narayanera chari pashe dwaraka chaturvyuhera dvitiya prakashe. Nikesh. Are you there, Nikesh? Or Drishta? Or Divya, whoever's first to be on the verse, text 40.
Beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic
Wait,
manifestation.
the next one.
Oh, sorry. Okay. In that spiritual sky, on the four sides of Narayan, are the second expansions of the quadruple expansions of Dwarka. Within the spiritual sky is the second manifestation of the quadruple forms of Dwarka from the abode of Krishna. Among these forms, which are all spiritual and immune to the material modes, Sri Baladev is represented as Mahasankarshan. The activities in the spiritual sky are manifested by the internal potency in pure spiritual existence. They expand in 6 transcendental opulences, which are all manifestations of Mahasankarshan, who is the ultimate reservoir and objective of all living entities, although belonging to the marginal potency, known as Jiva Shakti. The spiritual sparks, known as the living entities, are subjected to the conditions of material energy. It is because these sparks are related with both the internal and external potencies of the Lord that they are known as belonging to the marginal potency. In considering the quadruple forms of the absolute personality of Godhead, known as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Anirudh, the impersonalists headed by Sripad Shankaracharya have interpreted the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra in a way suitable for the impersonalist school. To provide the intrinsic import of such aphorisms, however, Srila Rupa Goswami, the leader of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, has properly replied to the impersonalist in his Lagu Bhagavatamrita, which is a natural commentary on the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra. The Padma Purana, as quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Lagu Bhagavatamrita, describes that in the spiritual sky there are 4 directions corresponding to east, west, north, and south, in which Vasudev, Sankarshan, Anirudh, and Pradyumna are situated. The same forms are also situated in the material sky. The Padma Purana also describes a place in the spiritual sky known as Vedavatipura, where Vasudev resides. In Vishnuloka, which is above Satyaloka, Sankarshan resides. Mahasankarshan is another name of Sankarshan. Pradyumna lives in Dwarkapura, and Anirudh lies on the eternal bed of Shesha, known as Anantashaya, on the island called Shweta Dweep in the Ocean of Milk.
Right, so we're talking about the first expansions here from Lord Balaram, which is this Chaturvyuha. Yeah, and the 4 sides of Narayan are the second expansion. First they expand, the first Chaturvyuha comes out, and then from them comes the second expansion of the quadruple expansions. And so that's the same names, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. They come once and then they come again. And then the different, I guess you could say, generations of expanded Chaturvyuha forms, they have different functions in the universe, as Prabhupada's describing here. They live in different places and they do different things. We're going to hear more about them too. The next verse has a very long purport. It's, I think, more than 10 pages long.
Looks like the same thing.
So we'll break it up in paragraphs. Vasudeva Sankarshana Pradyumna Aniruddha Dvitiya Chaturvyuha Turiya Vishuddha. Vasudev, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha constitute this second quadruple. They are purely transcendental. Sripad Shankaracharya has misleadingly explained the quadruple form Chaturvyuha in his interpretation of the 42nd aphorism of chapter 2 of the second kanda of the Vedanta Sutra, Udpatya Asambhavat. In verses 41 through 47 of this chapter, Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami answers Sripad Shankaracharya's misleading objections to the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Yeah, so the reason that these purports are very long is because there's a debate on this topic between Shankaracharya, who is the leader of the Mayavadis, and basically the Vaishnavas. Yeah, Krishnadas Kaviraj is like saying he's answering his objections. He's basically responding to the statements of Shankaracharya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is not like a material object that can be known by experimental knowledge or sense perception. In the Narada Pancharatra, this fact has been explained by Narayan himself to Lord Shiva. But Shankaracharya, the incarnation of Shiva, under the order of Narayan, his master, had to mislead the monists who favor ultimate extinction. In the conditioned stage of existence, all living entities have four basic defects, of which one is the cheating propensity. Shankaracharya has carried this cheating propensity to the extreme to mislead the monists. He's like, Shankaracharya is like the biggest cheater, even though he's Lord Shiva, but on the order of the Lord Narayan himself, he's preaching this bogus philosophy just to mislead the impersonalists.
Yeah, especially South India, they have more.
A lot of followers of Shankaracharya. Yeah.
But like, why would Narayan want to mislead the monists? Why would Narayan want people to what, like mislead and not come to him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing was because it all started off with people misusing the Vedas and performing yajnas just for materialistic purposes and getting too wild with animal sacrifices and killing so many animals that all the yajna arenas were more like slaughterhouses. And so Krishna was not happy with that at all. People, they lost the whole point of doing the yajnas, that it's to please Vishnu, and they just thought, oh, this is like an excuse to kill animals and have a big party of eating meat or whatever. So it became super degraded. So then Krishna came as his incarnation of Lord Buddha, and he preached against the Vedas. He said that these Vedic aphorisms are incomplete or whatever, and I'm going to give you the actual right path. And then he basically made up his own philosophy of, shunyavad, that everything is ultimate void, this world is just an illusion, and yeah, he created his own philosophy. The soul doesn't exist and there's no afterlife and things like that. So he took people away from the Vedas, and so then many people at that time became impersonalists. They rejected the Vedas following Lord Buddha, and they became impersonalists. But then next thing, Lord Shiva came in the form of Shankaracharya, and his mission was to bring people back to the Vedas, bring people to have faith again in the Vedas. But because people were so entrenched in voidism, he basically preached this Nirvishesha Shunyavadi philosophy as well, but according to the Vedas. So he's like, hey, you all believe in voidism and impersonalism. Well, that's what the Vedas are saying. So why are you rejecting the Vedas? The Vedas are just like confirming everything that you believe to be true that Buddha taught you. So he presented it like that. And all these monists became basically, in one sense, it was worse because he like misinterpreted the Vedas to mean something that the Vedas are not intended to mean, right? The Vedas are supposed to point people to Krishna, but he interpret them in a way to point people towards voidism. But it was just a stepping stone in the sequence. And then the next sequence is that Lord Caitanya came, and then Lord Caitanya went and he spoke to all of these followers of Shankaracharya, the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, the monists, and he taught them that no, actually, the Vedas are directing us to worship Krishna. and perform devotional service, and especially chanting the holy names like that. So it took, actually hundreds of years to bring people back around from just like totally misusing the Vedas for sacrifices to understanding the true purpose of the Vedas is to worship the personal form of the Lord by devotional service. So, yeah.
Can we say that like it was the need of an hour because
Exactly.
yeah, and then step by step snap.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In the South India, the people come to the Buddhism. South India.
Because of Shankar.
Because of the Buddhism.
Because of Buddha.
There's a sort of Buddhist population in South India, a lot.
No.
Prabhupada said that
Anymore?
later they all got driven out of India.
Mm-hmm.
They went to China and Thailand and these different places. Nepal, right? They worship. Yeah,
Buddhist
Nepal.
population.
They got driven out of India.
No, because Buddha, he was born in Nepal.
Oh, yeah?
In the Kathmandu with that family.
Oh,
So
okay.
he got actually in the Lumbini Nilwai family.
Mm,
So the influence is still there.
strong.
It's really strong.
Mm.
So just like 10 minutes away from where we live, there's a place named like Bodh.
Tibetan Buddhists, right? Yeah.
It's huge.
Hmm.
They don't seem to be.
All those prayer flags that they have in the mountains, it's Buddhism, right?
It's still very prominent
Hmm.
Buddhism.
After Sankaracharya,
Yeah.
the people.
Yeah, Shankaracharya preached very strongly
Very strong.
and very like heavy, like philosophical and scriptures and everything.
There are so many. Which will be before Sankaracharya. Not anymore.
Okay, would you like to read Mother Vaidehi?
Yes. Typically, the expansion of the quadruple forms in the Vedic literature cannot be understood by speculation of a conditioned soul. The quadruple forms should therefore be accepted just as they are described. The authority of the Vedas is such that even if one does not understand something by his limited perception, he should accept the Vedic injunction and not to create interpretations to suit his imperfect understanding. In this
Shariraka.
Saririka Bhashya, however, Sankaracharya has increased the misunderstanding of the monist. The quadruple forms have a spiritual existence that can be realized in Vasudeva Tattva, Suddha Sattva, or unqualified goodness, which accompanies complete absorption in the understanding of Vasudeva. The quadruple forms, who are full in sick opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are enjoyers of the internal potential. The thinking, the absolute personality of Godhead to the poverty-stricken or have no potency, or in other words, to be impotent, is simply rascalism. This rascalism is the profession of the conditioned soul, and it increases his bewilderment. One who cannot understand the distinction between the spiritual world and the material world has no qualification to examine or know the situation of the transcendental quadruple forms. In his commentary on the Vedanta Sutra 2.242-45, His Holiness Sripad Sankaracharya has made futile attempt to nullify the existence of these quadruple forms in the spiritual world.
It's funny how Srila Prabhupada,
Yes.
he's very respectful. His Holiness Sripad Shankaracharya has made a futile attempt. He respects the person, but he defeats the arguments.
No, because he is the incarnation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's nice. That it's a good example that, we say things like hate the sin, not the sinner. So if somebody is speaking some, very untrue philosophy, then we can still respect the person while we simultaneously very strongly defeat the philosophy. So it should never become like a personal thing, like I hate that person or that person is so stupid or whatever, but we should just defeat the philosophy using, counter arguments and logic and reason and quoting scripture and giving examples and things like that. But we shouldn't make the person feel bad.
Again, with the spiritual soul inside.
Yeah, they're all ultimately devotees of Krishna, and you don't want to make them, because if you make them feel bad, they're just going to hate you. And even if you defeat them philosophically, they're not going to join you. They're just going to resent you, right? So better to be friendly with the person, but just point out the faults in the arguments, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, you've actually got a good point there, right? And they might just be like, that's what Lord Chaitanya did. He went around, when he was traveling around India, he was meeting with all these followers of Shankaracharya, and he was very humble, very respectful, but defeating all their arguments. And that way they all became Vaishnavas, everyone that he talked to. Not a single one that stayed a monist or a Mayavadi after speaking to him. So I'm just seeing all these, every paragraph is starting like Shankaracharya says. And it reminds me of how my daughter was in Sri Mayapur International School, and she was in middle school. So they have a Shastra class, right? And they were studying about, Mayavad philosophy versus, Krishna consciousness, or, a personal philosophy of Krishna. And so the teacher, she organized a debate. So she divided the class into two parts. It was an all-girls class. So there's one group, they had to fight for Krishna Bhakti as the highest thing, and worship of Krishna as the highest path. And the other group had to be Mayavadis. So my younger daughter was in that class, and she was on the Mayavadi side. She's like, how am I going to argue? How am I going to, debate like a Mayavadi? And then so we went to the Vedabase, and I just searched Shankaracharya says, or Mayavadis say, or Mayavadis argue that, or like that. And we found all the arguments of the Mayavadis. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, he says the Mayavadis say this, and then he defeats it, right? But because she was arguing on the side of the Mayavadis, we didn't defeat, we just gave what the Mayavadis say. So then she had all these arguments, like all the Mayavadi arguments, basically.
The other devotees, they have to
We talked about it, so she understood what Prabhupada was saying. She understood the whole Mayavad point of view. And then so she goes into the class, and they had the debate. I wasn't there. I wish I could have been there, but I was in my own classroom teaching another class. Anyways, afterwards I asked the teacher, so how did the debate go? And she's like, yeah, it was good. It was interesting. I was like, who won? And she said, the Mayavadis. It's like, no, the Mayavadis can't win. And she's like, the thing is that the devotees, the ones who were they weren't prepared, because they were thinking, well, duh, of course the Mayavadis are wrong, this is going to be easy, it's easy to defeat them. But she came with like solid arguments, and the devotees couldn't defeat them because they didn't do the research.
They did not do that.
Right? Yeah. They should have gone and said Sankaracharya says, Mayavadis say, and then seen the but part, right? What? According to Vaishnava philosophy, bam, bam, bam.
They did not prepare for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So then I told the teacher, I said, you need to have another, like you need to have like another challenge, right? Like the devotees have to win in the end. I don't think she ever did, though. I hope none of those students became Mayavadis after that. It would have been all my fault. Anyways.
So they have different same group, like Mayavadis.
They should have switched. They should have had my daughters doing the devotees and the other group doing the Mayavadis. And then, my daughter too smart. Okay. All right, Krishna. All right, who's Aruna?
Sankaracharya states, chapter 42, that devotees think the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, Sri Krishna, to be one, to be free from material qualities, and to have a transcendental blood body of peace and eternal existence. He is the ultimate goal of devotees, who believe that the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself into four other eternal transcendental forms: Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. From Vasudeva, who is the primary expansion, come Sankaracharya, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha in that order. Another name of Vasudeva is Paramatma. Another name of Sankaracharya is
Sankarshan.
is the living entity. Another name of Pradyumna is mind. And another name of Aniruddha is Ahankara, false ego. Among these expansions, Vasudeva is considered the origin of the material nature. Therefore, Shankaracharya says that Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha must be creations of that original cause. Great souls assert that Narayana, who is known as the Paramatma or Super Soul, is beyond material nature, and this is in accordance with the statements of the Vedic literature. Mayavadis also agree that Narayana can expand himself in various forms. Sankara says that he does not attempt to argue with that portion of devotees' understanding, but he must protest the idea that Sankarsana is produced from Vasudeva. Pradyumna is produced from Sankarsana, and Aniruddha is produced from Pradyumna. For if Sankarsana is understood to represent the living entities created from the body of Vasudeva, the living entities would have to be non-eternal. The living entities are supposed to be free from material contamination by engaging in prolonged temple worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, reading Vedic literature and performing yoga and pious activities to attain the Supreme Lord. But if the living entities has been created from the material nature at certain point, they would be non-eternal and would have no chance to be liberated and associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a cause is nullified, its results are nullified. In the second chapter of Vedanta Sutra, second Khanda, Acharya Vedavyasa has also refuted the conception that the living beings were ever born. Natma Shrute Nityavagcha Tavya, because there is no creation for living entity. They must be eternal.
Okay, go ahead. Pragati?
43.
Shankaracharya says, Sutra 43, that devotees think that Pradyumna, who is considered to represent the senses, has sprung from Sankarsana, who is considered to represent the living entities. But we cannot actually experience that a person can produce senses. Devotees also say that from Pradyumna has sprung Aniruddha, who is considered to represent the ego. But Shankaracharya says that unless the devotees can show how ego and the means of knowledge can generate from a person, such an explanation of the Vedanta Sutra cannot be accepted for no other philosophers except the sutras in that way.
Go ahead.
Shankaracharya also says, Sutra 44, that he cannot accept the devotee's idea that Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are equally as powerful as the absolute personality of Godhead. Full in the six opulences of knowledge, wealth, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation, and free from the flow of generation at a certain point. Even if they are full expansions, the flow of generation remains. Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, being distinct individual persons, cannot be one. Therefore, if they are accepted as absolute, full, and equal, there would have to be many personalities of Godhead, but there is no need to accept that there are many personalities of Godhead, because acceptance of one omnipotent God is sufficient for all purposes. The acceptance of more than one God is contradictory to the conclusion that Lord Vasudev, the absolute personality of Godhead, is one without a second. Even if we agree to accept that quadruple forms of Godhead are all identical, we cannot avoid the incongruous flaw of non-eternity unless we accept that there are some differences among the personalities. There is no meaning to the idea that Sankarshan is an expansion of Vasudev, Pradyumna is an expansion of Sankarshan, and Aniruddha is an expansion of Pradyumna. There must be a distinction between cause and effect. For example, a pot is distinct from the earth from which it is made, and therefore we can ascertain that the earth is the cause and the pot is the effect. Without such distinctions, there is no meaning to cause and effect. Furthermore, the followers of the Pancharatmic principles do not accept any differences in knowledge and qualities between Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. The devotees accept all these expansions to be one. But why should they restrict oneness to these quadruple expansions? Certainly, we should not do so. For all living entities, from Brahma to the insignificant ant, are expansions of Vasudev as accepted in all the sutras and smritis. Shrutis and smritis.
Go ahead and read one more.
Sankarshana Oh, Sankaracharya also says, Sutra 45, that the devotees who follow the Pancharatra state that God's qualities and God Himself, as the owner of the qualities, are the same. But how can the Bhagavad school state that the six opulences, wisdom, wealth, strength, fame, beauty, and renunciation, are identical with Lord Vasudev? This is impossible.
Okay, so these are all the challenges. Shankaracharya is challenging the Vaishnava. Shankaracharya says that the devotees think this, but how is that even possible? Devotees think that. That doesn't make any sense. So now we're going to hear the refutations here by Srila Rupa Goswami. Nikesh, are you there?
Yes. In his Laghu Bhagavad Amrita Purva 5.165193, Srila Rupa Goswami has refuted the charges directed against the devotees by Sripada Sankaracharya regarding their explanation of the quadruple forms Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Rupa Goswami says that these four expansions of Narayana are present in the spiritual sky, where they are famous as Mahavasta. Among them, Vasudeva is worshipped within the heart by meditation because he is the predominating deity of the heart, as explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.3.23. Sankarasana, the second expansion, is Vasudeva's personal expansion for pastimes, and since he is the reservoir of all living entities, he is sometimes called Jiva. The beauty of Sankarasana is greater than that of innumerable full moons radiating light beams. He is worshipable as the principle of ego. He has invested Anantadeva with all the potencies of sustenance. For the dissolution of the creation, he also exhibits himself as the super soul in Rudra, in Adharma, the personality of irreligion, in Sarpa, snakes, in Antaka, Yamaraja, the lord of death, and in the demons.
Okay. Just pause there. Yeah, so he's going the first two. So first is Vasudev, and then from Vasudev comes Sankarshan, and they're all, see, the way that Vaishnavas explain everything is Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, right? Like Shankaracharya, his confusion is because he doesn't get the idea of Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, that they're inconceivably one and different. So he's saying that there's only one God. So how is it that there are all these, these four quadruple expansions? And the Vaishnavas say that they're all one, but how are they all one when they all represent different things? They're all in charge of different things. They all expand in different ways to produce different kinds of living entities and different aspects of the creation. So it seems like they're God, but not God. They're one, but not one. Like they do this, that, and the other thing. And sometimes they're engaged spiritually, sometimes they manifest materially, but how can they manifest materially if they're spiritual? And yeah, he becomes very confused. So, but Lord Chaitanya resolves everything with Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, that they're one, simultaneously one with the Lord because they're expansions of the Lord, but they're different because they don't have all the complete potencies of the Lord. And they also are individual, right? They have their individuality, just like we Jiva Tattva expansions also have our individuality. And so there's a oneness in that we are qualitatively one with the Lord. We're eternal, we're conscious, we have the same nature, but quantitatively different. And we're small and the Lord is big. So these expansions, they're Vishnu Tattva, but they're not as powerful as the Lord. And they also have their individual functions that they perform in the service of the Lord, but they're Vishnu Tattva. So Hridayananda Maharaj calls this polymorphic monotheism. Means that we believe in one God, we're monotheistic. There's only one God, right? There's not many gods, but God expands himself into many forms, right? Polymorphic. Poly means many and morphic means form. So we're polymorphic monotheists, that there's one God, but he expands himself into many forms, which are simultaneously one with and different from himself. So that really explains everything. Okay, let's go on. We'll hear about Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Divya, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you. Pradyumna, the third manifestation, appears from Sankarshan. Those who are especially intelligent worship his Pradyumna expansion of Sankarshan as the principle of the intelligence. The goddess of fortune always chants the glories of Pradyumna in a place known as Ilavrita Varsha, and she always serves him with great devotion. His complexion appears sometimes golden and sometimes bluish, like new monsoon clouds in the sky. He is the origin of the creation in of the material world, and he has invested his creative principle in Cupid. It is by his direction only that all men and demigods and other living entities function with energy for regeneration. Aniruddha, the fourth of the quadruple expansions, is worshipped by great sages and psychologists as the principle of the mind. His complexion is similar to the bluish hue of a blue cloud. He engages in the maintenance of the cosmic manifestation and is the supersoul of Dharma, the deity of religiosity. The Manus, the progenitors of mankind, and the Devatas, demigods. The Moksha Dharma, Vedic scripture indicates that Pradyumna, the Moksha Dharma Vedic scripture indicates that Pradyumna is the deity of the total mind, whereas Anirudh is the deity of the total ego. But previous statements regarding the quadruple forms are confirmed in the Pancharatra Tantras in all respects.
So what, Prabhupada, so these four, they're different in that Vasudev is the Lord of the heart, right? He says that he's the predominating deity of the heart. And then Sankarshan is the predominating deity of the ego, is it? Yeah, he's worshipped as the principle of ego. And then Pradyumna is the predominating deity of the intelligence, and Aniruddha is the predominating deity of the mind. So, amongst other things that they do. Pradyumna also is the origin of Cupid, who is the cause of regeneration. I like that. Okay. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Purva 586-100, there's a lucid explanation of the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Negating Shankaracharya's statements, the Mahavaraha Purana declares, all the varied expansions of the personality of Godhead are transcendental and eternal, and all of them repeatedly descend to all the different universes of the material creation. Their bodies composed of eternity, bliss, and knowledge are everlasting. There is no chance of their decaying, for they are not creations of the material world. Their forms are concentrated spiritual existence, always complete with all spiritual qualities and devoid of material contamination. Confirming these statements, the Narada Pancharatra asserts, the infallible personality of Godhead can manifest his body in different ways according to different modes of worship, just as the Vaidurya gem can manifest itself in many colors such as blue and yellow. Each incarnation is distinct from all the others. This is possible by the Lord's inconceivable potency, by which he can simultaneously represent himself as one, as various partial forms, and as the origin of these partial forms. Nothing is impossible for his inconceivable potencies. So Krishna, he's the origin of the forms. He manifests the forms by his potency, and he is simultaneously, and they're simultaneously all one. If we say they expand from Krishna, it makes it seem like they're different from Krishna, right? But
Yes.
because they're expanded by Krishna's potencies, they're nothing but Krishna. So that's what the Mayavadis can't understand. Krishna is one without a second, but he manifests himself in different bodies, as stated by Narada in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is wonderful indeed that one Krishna has simultaneously become different Krishnas in 16,000 palaces to accept 16,000 queens as his wife. The Padma Purana also explains, the same personality of Godhead Purushottama, the original person, who is always devoid of material qualities and contamination, can exhibit himself in various forms and at the same time lie down in one form. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Yujanti twan mayas twan vai bahu murtyeka murtikam. O my Lord, although you manifest yourself in varieties of forms, you are one without a second. Therefore, pure devotees concentrate upon you and worship only you. The Kurma Purana says, the Lord is personal, although impersonal. He is atomic, although great. He is blackish and has red eyes, although he is colorless. By material calculation, all this may appear contradictory, but if we understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has inconceivable potencies, we can accept these facts as eternally possible in him. In our present condition, we cannot understand the spiritual activities and how they occur, but although they are inconceivable in the material context, we should not disregard such contradictory conceptions. All right. Want to read
Yes.
Mother writing?
Yes. Although it is apparently inconceivable, it is quite possible for the Absolute to reconcile all opposing elements. Srimad Bhagavatam established this in the sixth canto, 6.9, 34 to 37. O my Lord, your transcendental pastimes and enjoyments all appear inconceivable because they are not limited by the casual and effective actions of material thought. You can do everything without performing bodily work. The Vedas say that absolute truth has multifarious potencies and does not need to do anything personally. My dear Lord, you are entirely devoid of material qualities. Without anyone's help, you can create, maintain, dissolve the entire qualitative material manifestation. Yet in all such activities, you do not change. You do not accept the results of your activities, unlike ordinary demons and demigods, who suffer or enjoy the reactions of their activities in the material world. Unaffected by the reactions of work, you eternally exist with your full spiritual potency. This we cannot fully understand.
Go ahead, Aruna.
Yes. Because you are unlimited in your six opulences, no one can count your transcendental qualities. Philosophers and other thoughtful persons are overwhelmed by you, by the contradictory manifestations of the physical world and the propositions of logical arguments and judgments. Because they are bewildered by word jugglery and disturbed by the different calculations of the scriptures, and their theories cannot touch you. Who are the ruler and the controller of everyone, and whose glories are beyond conception. Your inconceivable potency keeps you unattached to the mundane qualities, surpassing all conceptions of material contemplations. Your pure transcendental knowledge keeps you beyond all the speculative processes. By your inconceivable potency, there is nothing contradictory in you. People may sometimes think of you as impersonal or personal, but you are one. For persons who are confused and bewildered, a rope may appear to manifest itself as a different kinds of snakes. For similar confused persons who are uncertain about you, you create various philosophical methods in pursuance of their uncertain positions.
Okay, stop there. So, yeah, there are all these contradictions in Krishna, right? That he's a size of the atom, but then also he's bigger than he's smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. And he's without color, but he's blackish, bluish black in color. And so many, we were speaking the other day, right, about all Krishna's contradictions. So yeah, people who are just logicians or speculators or Mayavadis, or they just can't understand these contradictions, how all of these things can be resolved in Krishna, although all these qualities are there and perfect in Krishna, simultaneously existing. Like they're both simultaneously true without negating each other. In the same way, he has all these expansions and yet he's one. That's what they don't get. How is it that he is many and at the same time one? That's their main argument. So Rupa Goswami keeps going back to this, that, yeah, they become overwhelmed by the contradictory manifestations and they get disturbed by the different statements of the scriptures and they develop their own theories but it's all a lot of word jugglery and it doesn't make any sense because Krishna is inconceivable. So, yeah. He says, by your inconceivable potency, there's nothing contradictory in you. Because nothing can be contradictory for someone who's inconceivable. Okay. Go ahead, Aruna, you can read a little bit.
We should always remember the differences between the spiritual and material actions. The Supreme Lord, being all spiritual, can perform any act without extraneous help. In the material world, if we want to manufacture an earthen pot, we need the ingredients, a machine, and also a laborer. But we should not extend this idea to the actions of the Supreme Lord, for he can create anything in a moment without that which appears necessary in our own conception. When the Lord appears as an incarnation to fulfill a particular purpose, this does not indicate that he is unable to fulfill it without appearing. He can do anything simply by his will, but by his causeless mercy, he appears to be dependent upon his devotees. He appears as the son of Yashodha Mata, not because he is dependent on her care, but because he accepts such a role by his causeless mercy. When he appears for the protection of his devotees, he naturally accepts trials and tribulations on their behalf.
Yeah, so the Mayavadis gave this argument that when you make a pot, you use earth. And so the earth is different from the pot. And when you take the earth and make a pot, then it's a different thing now, right? And that the earth that it came from is the cause and the pot is the effect. They're two different things. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying here is that with Krishna, it's different because when he wants to expand himself into an incarnation, then he doesn't become diminished by that, right? That's what it says in Sri Upanishad, that Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Udachite Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishite. That Krishna is always perfectly complete and completely perfect, and no matter how many complete units emanate from him, he always remains the complete balance. And they also use the example of the candles, right? In Brahma Samhita, there's the analogy that you take one candle and you can light another candle with the candle, and the first candle doesn't become less. The flame remains the same. And the new candle is also equal, right? So the incarnations are like that Krishna is the first candle and then the other candles, and they can be even equally powerful to Krishna. But the original candle doesn't become diminished by lighting other candles. So it's like that. Okay, do you want to read Pragati? This will be the last paragraph, I think. Oh, actually, it's 5 o'clock already. So we'll stop. We'll stop here in the Bhagavad Gita. And then hopefully we're going to finish this purport tomorrow, because tomorrow will be our last class for a while. We don't want to stop in the middle of a purport for 2 months. Stay stuck in that purport for 2 months. Yeah. I think we will. Okay, so we left off on page 463. Let me just see if anybody's out here in La La Land. I don't think so, right? Oops. Oh, there's somebody saying, if you are searching for wisdom, practice Buddhism. Hinduism is a set of unorganized concepts from various times without any kind of long-lasting wisdom. Well, if you read the Caitanya Charitamrita, you will have a very different experience. All right, thank you for joining. We are gonna call it a day. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.